Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Gar. And in this episode we are going to connect our computer to a USB device which is hidden somewhere behind that wall over there, and all of this without using any kind of USB cables, only using an Ethernet cable. To be honest with you guys, I was also confused by this topic when I first heard about it. Like, how can we use an Ethernet cable to transfer data? Because these two connectors look nothing alike. Well, for those who are wondering why you would want to do such a thing, maybe because you have some very long runs and you want to use USB extension cables, because they start acting funny once they get really long. So this could be a solution for you. Or maybe, like in my case, you just want to route your USB cable through the wall, and it would be much easier to pull an ERNET cable through the wall instead of a bulky USB cable. But anyways, let's take a look at how this works. I've ordered this off of eBay, and this is basically a USB to Ethernet converter, but not the other way around. This is USB to Ethernet. The way this thing works is simple. This little micro USB port on the side. Here is where we will connect our USB device to CUN. And then on the other side we have a standard size Ethernet connector. This is where we will connect the Ethernet cable to. Now I've already connected the cable on the other side over there, so let me quickly show you what the connection looks like. So as I said, we will use this micro USB connector here, and we can basically treat this as a normal USB port. So we will simply connect our device here, and this is going to be our test device. We are going to connect a webcam to this device and then see if we can access the webcam from our computer. Now before we do anything else, we need to download this little program called Server Utility. You can find a link to this in the description below. This is made by the manufacturer of this little converter box, and this is going to allow us to access the devices which are connected to this box. Simply download the program, install it, run it, and now we need to configure it. For this to work, we need to make sure that this little option here is enabled, and then we need to make sure that the IP address here matches the one on the box. So on the box we have this sticker here which has the default IP address printed on it, and it is 192.168.180.c. So we will copy this IP address here and then paste it here. Once that is done, we can hit OK. And now we should be able to access the devices which are connected to this box, B. For this to work though, we need to make sure that we have an Ethernet cable plugged into the LAN port on our computer. If we do this now, we can go ahead and open up our file explorer here and then enter the IP address here, B. And as you can see, we are now accessing the hard drive of the Raspberry Pi which is connected to this box, C. So I'm going to minimize this window here and let S go ahead and see if we can actually access our webcam. To do this, we will simply open up our device manager, and under imaging devices we should now see our webcam. As you can see, this is the webcam. We can also open up the webcam preview from here, Kunda. And as you can see, we are now successfully accessing our webcam, which is connected to the Raspberry Pi. Alright, so let's take a closer look at this circuit board here. So as you can see here, we have this little micro USB port. This is where we will connect our USB device to, And then over here we have a USB port. And this is where we will connect our USB cable to. So the way this thing works is pretty simple. We connect our USB device to the micro USB port here. And then we connect the other end of the USB cable to this USB-A port. Then we connect the Ethernet cable to the Ethernet port here, and the other end of that goes to our computer. This is the basic setup you need to get started. But there are a few more things you can do with this thing. As you can see here, we have an additional micro USB port. You can connect a power supply here. And the reason you might want to do this is because some USB devices draw a lot of power. This little converter box here is only rated for 5 volts and 2 amps. So if you have some USB device which draws a lot of current, you might want to power that separately. And then we have another little hole here which is used for resetting the device. So now that we know how this thing works, let us go ahead and build our own version of this. It's not that complicated. All we need is a few components. First, we need a USB to Ethernet chip. I will leave a few links to these chips in the description below. I'm using this one here. Then we will need a micro USB jack, and we will need a USB-A jack. And last but not least, we will need a RJ45 keystone jack. If you have ENART worked with these jacks before, it is important to note that these are not like regular screw terminals. These are crimp connectors, so you need to use a special tool to crimp these. To do this, you will need 2 things. First, you will need a pair of crimpers. These are cheap and you can get them from any electronics store, CAM. And then we will also need some crimp connectors. These are the ones I'm using here, and they come in a pack of 100 for a few bucks. Alright, so let's go ahead and build this thing. The first thing we need to do is strip the ends of our wires. So I'm using a wire stripper here to do this. Then we will take our USB cable and we will insert the wires into the USB-A connector. Make sure you put them in the correct order. I'm following this pinout diagram here. This is available online. So I'm going to try to match this up with the colors we have on the cable. And as you can see, there are 8 wires here. The white one needs to go into the middle, and then the other 7 ones will go around it. After that, we can close the USB-A connector. Next, we will take our Ethernet cable, and we will do the same thing here. We will remove the jacket on the end, and then we will put the wires into the RJ45 connector. Again, I'm following a pinout diagram here. In this case, it's T568B. This means that the green and white wire needs to go into the first slot here. Orange and white goes to the second one, and so on and so forth. Make sure you follow the diagram and do this in the correct order. After that, we can take the 2 cables here and connect them to the chip. The USB cable goes here, and the Ethernet cable goes here. Then we can take our soldering iron and solder the joints. Alright, now that the wiring is complete, we can move on to crimping. So we will take our 4 cables here and we will insert them into the keystone jack. The order doesn't matter here, see? So you can simply put them in one by one and then crimp them. Now let's take a look at the other side of the board. Here we will take the micro USB jack and we will put the pins into the holes. The easiest way to do this is simply bend the pins a little bit and then push them into the holes. 2. Then we will take the USB-A jack and do the same thing here. And then lastly, we will take the RJ45 jack and put it in its place. And that's it. Our custom USB over Ethernet extender is now built. Let's go ahead and connect this to our Raspberry Pi. We will connect the micro USB cable to the Raspberry Pi. And then we will connect the other end of that to the micro USB jack on the board. And then we will connect the Ethernet cable to the board, and the other end of that goes to the Raspberry Pi. Let's go ahead and check if this thing works. We will open up the camera onto the Raspberry Pi. And as you can see, everything is working perfectly fine. We can access our camera just like before. Alright, so that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. And if you like this video, please consider supporting the channel. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you learned something new. And I will see you again in the next one. Bye.